Very good afternoon, students. Today we are going to start with the very important new chapter for your 11th science from biology paper 2, that is study of animal tissue. Okay, so as the word suggests, study of animal tissue. So we are going to study about the tissue. Now, what exactly is the tissue? So everyone knows that cell is the structural and functional unit of life. Every cell generally arises from the pre-existing cell, and the cell has the power of cell division, cell multiplication, and cell duplication. These properties we have seen in the last lecture or the last chapter, that is structural organization of cell. Now, whenever the cell divides, it generally form a group of cell. So a group of cell that is similar in structure and function is together called as tissue. So tissue is a group of cell, it is a cluster of cell that is generally similar in structure and that is similar in function. That is generally called as tissue. And the branch of the biology which generally deals with the study of the tissue is generally called as histology, right? ऐसा आपका स्टडी जो आप बायोलॉजी का जो आपका सिर्फ और सिर्फ किसके बारे में स्टडी करता है, टिश्यू के बारे में, that is generally called as histology. So let's today start with the topic tissue, that is study of animal tissue. Now, when you talk about this tissue, there are different kinds of tissue. And in this chapter, basically you are going to study about the 4 different types of tissue. Epithelial tissue, number 1. Second is connective tissue. Third is muscular tissue, and fourth is nervous tissue. This all 4 types of the tissue we are going to study in this chapter, study of animal tissue. Okay. So before starting with that, we know that whenever a tissue is generally formed, it gives rise to an organ, and an organ gives rise to an organ system. And once the organ system is formed, we generally have an organism. So first type of a tissue which we are going to start today is epithelial tissue. सबसे important type of tissue है ये. Epithelial tissue is the most widely distributed type of a tissue in the body. सबसे ज्यादा जो हमारे body में present रहता है, that is generally your epithelial tissue. Epithelial tissue generally forms the outer lining of the body and the inner lining of some of the cavities in the body. Outer lining जो हमारा body का है, and whatever the inner lining of our body cavities is there, that is generally lined by the epithelial tissue. Now, third point, the cells of the epithelial tissue are compactly arranged with each other, right? यहाँ पे आपके cells tightly attached है एक दूसरे से, and they generally do not contain much of the intercellular spaces. That is epithelial tissue. Epithelial tissue does not contain its own blood vessels और ब्लड कैपिलरीज. इनके पास इनके खुद के ब्लड वेसल्स या ब्लड कैपिलरीज नहीं प्रेजेंट होते हैं. एंड एपिथेलियल टिश्यू इज ओरिजिनेटेड फ्रॉम एक्टोडर्मल, एंडोडर्मल एंड मेसोडर्मल origin, that is layers. So ectoderm outer, endoderm inner, inner, and mesoderm is middle layer. So these are some of the characteristic features of the epithelial tissue. सबसे पहला, epithelial tissue forms the outer lining of the body and inner lining of some of the cavity. It is the widely distributed type of a tissue, correct? Cells are compactly arranged, they are tightly arranged with each other, right? Okay, and here whatever the epithelial tissue are there, they do not contain their own blood vessels and the blood capillaries, and it is originated from ectodermal, endodermal and mesodermal in layers or the origin. Now let's talk about the different types of epithelial tissue. 2 different types of epithelial tissue are present. One is called simple epithelial tissue and second is called compound epithelial tissue. So सबसे पहले we are going to start with simple epithelial tissue, which are of following 5 types. Number 1 is squamous epithelium. Number 2 is cuboidal epithelium, right? So today we are going to study 2 different types. Number 1, squamous epithelial tissue. In every tissue, we are going to study 3 important components. Number 1, location. Number 2, structure. And number 3, function. So let's start. First, squamous epithelium. Number 1, location. कहाँ पे present है ये? It generally forms the outer layer of the skin. Our entire outer layer of the skin is generally made up of squamous epithelial tissue. It forms the inner lining of the alveoli sac, inner lining of the Bowman's capsule, heart, lungs, blood vessel, etc. alveoli sac जहां पे exchange of gases होता है उसके inner lining में, correct. Next, it is also found where? It is also found in the inner lining of the Bowman's capsule. What is Bowman's capsule? It is a cup-shaped structure present in the nephron, जहां पे filtration of the blood होता है, वहां पे present रहता है. Heart में, lungs में, and also in the blood vessels, you can find the squamous epithelial tissue. Structure. The cells are flat, polygonal and elongated cell. Can you see the cells are flat, they are polygonal or hexagonal, and they are generally elongated cell. Every cell generally contains a centrally placed nucleus surrounded by the granular cytoplasm. सेंटर में न्यूक्लियस रहेगा, उसके आजू बाजू में आपका साइटोप्लाज्म प्रेजेंट रहेगा, करेक्ट. नाउ ऑल दिस सेल्स आर कॉम्पैक्टली अरेंज्ड विद ईच अदर विदाउट एनी इंटरसेलुलर स्पेसेस, राइट. द सेल्स आर कॉम्पैक्टली अरेंज्ड विद ईच अदर, दे डू नॉट कंटेन अ सिंगल इंटरसेलुलर स्पेसेस. कैन यू सी इसके अंदर कोई आपको इंटरसेलुलर स्पेस दिख रहा है? नहीं दिख रहा है, राइट. सो दिस सेल्स जनरली लुक्स लाइक द टाइल्स ऑफ द फ्लोर, right? This cells generally looks like what? They generally looks like the tiles of the floor. Have you seen the tiles of the floor? They do not have a minute space also, right? And that's why squamous epithelium is also called as pavement epithelium. Squamous epithelium is also called as what? It is also called as pavement epithelium, right? And last point, all the cell lie down on a non-cellular membrane. That non-cellular membrane is generally called as basement membrane. Okay, so this is the structure of a simple squamous epithelial tissue. For number one, the cells are polygonal, they are flat and they are elongated. It contains a centrally placed nucleus surrounded by the granular cytoplasm. The cells do not contain any intercellular spaces. I mean to say the cells are compactly arranged with each other, and that's why they do not have intercellular spaces. All the cells lie down on a non-cellular membrane. That non-cellular membrane is called basement membrane. Now last, function. What is the function of the squamous epithelial tissue? It plays an important role in filtration and diffusion, right? Okay, it plays an important role in filtration of blood in the Bowman's capsule and exchange of gases in the alveoli sac. मैंने पहले ही बताया, Bowman's capsule जहां पे आपका glomerulus रहता है, वहां पे filtration of the blood होता है. So for the filtration of the blood in Bowman's capsule and for the exchange of gases, that is oxygen inside and carbon dioxide is eliminated outside in the alveoli sac, is done with the help of the squamous epithelial tissue. Okay, second one is cuboidal epithelial tissue. Cuboidal epithelial tissue location says that it is generally present in the respiratory tract and the lining of the kidney or the lining of the kidney tubule. तो ये आपका respiratory tract में present रहता है and it is also present in the lining of the kidney tubule. Now let's have the explanation, that is the structure. As the word suggests, cuboidal, it means the cells are cube shaped. So the cells are usually cube shaped or they are cuboidal in shape, right? They also generally contain a nucleus and that nucleus is generally surrounded by the cytoplasm. Here, whatever the cube shaped cells are there, they all cube shaped cells lie down on a non-cellular membrane. That non-cellular membrane is generally called as the basement membrane. So basement membrane is a non-cellular membrane जिसके ऊपर सारे आपके ये जो cuboidal cells रहते हैं, they generally get arranged. Okay, so that's what all about your cuboidal epithelial tissue, where the cells are cube shaped or they are cuboidal in shape. They also contain nucleus and they are surrounded by the cytoplasm. All the cells lie down on a non-cellular membrane. That non-cellular membrane is called as basement membrane. Okay, last but not the least, the function. It plays an important role in the absorption, right? So you know very well that in the kidney, right, the filtration of the blood takes place and also absorption of some useful material takes place, whereas the nitrogenous waste material are eliminated out of the body. तो ये सारा चीज आपका function absorption का cuboidal epithelium करता है. Okay, so today we have completed two topics. First is squamous epithelial tissue and second is cuboidal epithelial tissue. Thank you.